Force is one of the most important supplements in the overall history of role-playing games.
Strike Force is an important book because it was the first time that a game master had really explained how he had successfully run a superhero campaign.
And the metaphor I always use is for somebody to watch Casablanca today. Here it is 70 years later, somebody sits down to watch Casablanca for the first time, and they can't really understand what the big deal is. Oh, that was a perfectly lovely movie, but really it was just one long set of cliches. And that's the reaction that you sometimes get when you ask somebody today, 25, 30 years later, to sit down and read Strike Force. They're like, well, that was kind of nice. Yeah, but I've read all that before. Yeah, you've read all that before because it was in Aaron's book first.
I first encountered Strike Force nearly 20 years ago on the shelf of my local game store. I recall being blown away by its content and immediately adopted many of its ideas for use in our own Champions campaigns. I think the ideas it presented hold up as well now as they did back then, and the book is almost certainly a must for any game master's library, of course, provided you could find it. This is why I'm honored to be part of this team, and I'm extremely excited to be bringing this updated version of Aaron's campaign world to the superhero gaming community and to you, our backers.
Strike Force was really the first book to not only tell me how to structure a campaign, but also to help guide me through that process and understand that it was more than just putting together a good story and a collection of plot points, but understanding how to engage and play to the table, how to get your players involved, not just at the table, but outside the table, and how to build stories with them that would then build a stronger foundation for a campaign because there would be more life.
I mean, of the many things that are amazing about Strike Force and about Aaron's work for it was that he did, in fact, generally invent or, shape the use of actual play that's, become recognized today as a vital part of learning about games and of learning how to be a GM, how to be a player, how to work together to create a campaign and take into account the actual, not like the idealized space of an RPG for this, but what actually happened in practice, right? That you would have different kinds of players who would come to a game with different kinds of agendas, different ideas about what was fun, and how to access that, how to make sure that the experience was as fun as possible for everybody involved.
And the book turned out to be a gem. The advice on running a campaign was fantastic, and it especially showed me how a campaign can be dynamic, how it can grow and change, and how you can change the characters over time, both to fit the changing desires of the players and the changing needs of the campaign. And just that the campaign doesn't need to always be the same thing.
When I went down to Texas to recover the Strike Force archives and meet with his family, and meet with his mother, and go in and get it, I realized I was holding in my hands a record of almost a quarter of a century long single game under which Aaron and his friends working together created a complete world that didn't just last for, as it does for most games, for a year or two or a few months or even a decade. It lasted, as far as I can tell, going through the archives, for over 2 decades.